So we borrow $100 from Payday lender for 1 week at a weekly rate of 10%. And then if you don't repay, you now owe the 110, but also 10% of that at the end of the second week. How much you owe by the end of the second week, and then how much would you owe by the end of the third week, right? So initially we owe $100, and then we owe 100 plus basically 10% of 100, so 110, right? And then we owe 110 plus 10% the next week, 10% of that 110. So we owe 121, and so on and so forth. So the third week, you could just say, well, owe 121 plus 10% of 121. So $133.10 would be the answer. But going back to kind of like the compound interest formula that we practiced, there's a neater way of doing this, where instead of 100 plus 10% of 110, we can, well, first of all, write that as 0.1 because 10% is 0.10, 0.1, right? 10% of 100, we can write that, and that gives us our 110. Then we can kind of like pull out the 100, like reverse distributive property, if you remember from algebra. And we can go 100 times 1 plus 0.1 or 10%, which also gives us 110. So that's even handier. Look at that, because that's 100 times 1.1, right? And so that's back to our compound interest formula thing, right? Now, so that gives us our 110. And now instead of doing this line where we go 110 plus 10% of 110 to get 121, we can just get multiply the 110 by itself. We can just go 110 times 1.1, which is 1 plus 10%. So there's our 121 like that. But 110, as we know, is 100 times 1.1. So the other way of doing it is going, well, it's actually 100 times 1.1 times 1.1 again to get the 121. And so that's really one of the things we're trying to get out of this question, is to see this type of thing. And that's 1.1 times 1.1, so that's 1.1 squared. So 100 times 1.1 to the power of 2. So after the second week, we owe $121. See how we're in the compound interest formula, that principal, that amount, the A times 1 plus R to the power of T. And this is really cool because with this formula, we can just go, oh, after the third week, hey, it's just like put a 3 there, 133.1. If you didn't pay this payday loan back for an entire year, and it's compounded every single week, and there's 52 weeks in the year, if we put a 52 there, now we owe them $14,000 at the end of the year. Isn't that crazy? So we started with a $100 loan, $100 loan just to cover an electricity bill from a payday lender. And they were charging 10% every single week. And 52 weeks later, we owe them $14,000. Look at that. And that's why that formula is so cool. You just change the number here. You know, if you want to know, well, what if I don't pay them off for 10 weeks? Oh, I'll owe $259. If I don't pay them off for 100 weeks, I will owe that amount of money, and so on and so forth, right? So